Hey there, it is Tom Jordan. So nice to have you along again on this edition of Tom Jordan Live. It's total blanket immunity. It went through the roof. There's this watchdog group called Open the Books. We've mentioned them before.
Closing arguments are scheduled this morning. It is surging in every single poll that's been out today. It's tax time. Did you know that? These three whistleblowers here.
You have said that he has voted to gut protections for pre-existing conditions.
Correct.
Is that true?
Yes.
He denies it flat out.
I understand. You don't have to take my word for it.
Do you vote to gut pre-existing conditions in healthcare?
Never would. And the answer is no.
It is Friday, so we're all looking forward to the weekend. But before we get to the weekend, there's a lot to talk about. So then, can these polls actually be trusted? Let's look at some of these numbers, how Americans feel and think about some key issues and how those feelings on those issues impact this upcoming election. My favorite pollster out there, Mark Mitchell, the Rasmussen Report's public opinion polling has been among the best and the most accurate. They started back in, I think, the early 2000s. But particularly over the past 8 years, they have been pretty much on the money, especially compared to these other polls out there. Mark Mitchell is now joining me live here on Tom Jordan Live. Mark, it's good to have you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, really good to be here. Love it when people are interested in numbers and public opinion.
Well, yeah, and you are, and I think the reason why I highlight you is because I've watched, Rasmussen for many years. Can you talk a little bit about the methodologies of pollsters nowadays? I mean, Rasmussen, why do you come up with different numbers than, say, Quinnipiac or the Marist polls that come out?
Well, I will say my numbers aren't too different from Quinnipiac this time around, and we didn't change anything. So I think maybe they're coming to their senses. And before I go into methodology, I will also add, I think Tucker and Elon talked about this and really put their finger on the pulse. There's a quasi-religious aspect to this because evangelical Christians go almost 40 points to Trump. Atheists go by 70 points to Kamala Harris. So I do think that there's a hole that some of this, really, really angry media is filling left by religion. But methodology is getting tougher and tougher for pollsters. Kind of the inescapable truths are that polling is going to get more and more fragmented. We're going to reach less and less people in the country, but polling will also still exist.
I want to get the take on this from our good friend here at Tom Jordan Live, Bert Herzog with Executive Wealth Management. Bert, it's so nice to have you back here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
So what do you, first of all, I guess your impression of this jobs report that came out on Friday, 254,000 jobs, all of the outlets are saying this is phenomenal. We have a tight labor market. We are thriving once again. What's your take on this?
Well, just to follow up from what you said, it's a bit of a shell game, to be honest with you, Tom.
That's why I look at it.
What's happening is that you're getting a lot of jobs in the government area, but also in services, low-paying service jobs, which are healthcare, which are restaurants. And really, you're not getting the jobs where we need them, which is manufacturing, which is engineering, which is businesses hiring people as we want to grow this economy based on the recovery post-COVID. So in reality, I think what's happening is that, in fact, they've even stated that this is the case with that $800,000 misprint on the jobs.
800,000 jobs.
800,000 jobs. But what's happened is a lot of U.S. citizens are losing their jobs to the tune of 700 to 800,000, where a lot of these new jobs are undocumented migrants, 1.2 million. So it's really a strange seesaw event, and I think they're not really publicizing what's happening to our economy. Now,
okay, so that really is happening. So you said 1.2 million illegal immigrants are getting jobs, and those are included in the job numbers that are coming out?
Yes, they are.
Oh, my goodness.
So, really, it's being misrepresented to the public.
So I heard that. Well, we don't know for sure if that's the. I know it is. I know the number because I've looked at the numbers myself. But they said this will all be borne out when in the census numbers. And I thought to myself, well, the census, they took that question off the census in terms of are you a U.S. citizen or not when they take these census. So it seems a lot of this seems to be buried.
It's a shell game.
It's a shell game, as you talked about. So. What is the reality? Because when I look around at people I know, and I know this isn't data, but you kind of get an understanding of what's happening in your own communities, in your own states. I know a lot of people who are coming out of college, they cannot find a job, and they're applying to like 300 different places, and they're not getting the jobs that they're being told are really out there. But of course, those are the private sector type of jobs. So the reality of both coming out of school, or if you've lost your position at maybe one of these high tech firms that are laying off, tens of thousands of people, how difficult then is it to get back into the workforce?
Well, it's very difficult, especially with the tech firms not hiring the way they were, and they're laying off people. So a lot of these people coming out of college are getting temporary jobs as bartenders, as service-oriented jobs, waiting for their opportunity to get into this economy. So what really needs to happen is that we need to focus in on providing jobs for the people who are qualified for those jobs, holding on to manufacturing jobs here in this country.
Yeah.
And we're losing those. We lost 24,000 2 months ago. We lost 7,000 here at this last report. And who knows, Tom? I mean, they're always redoing this report, and so I really don't think that this is going to stand a couple months from now.
It's the same way you advise your clients with executive wealth management on how you handle your finances at home, what the percentages and the ratio and how much you want to put into investing and then in savings and then paying off your bills and living within your means. We're speaking with Bert Herzog with Executive Wealth Management. We'll get your questions in a moment, comments and questions. So when it comes to that, when you're talking with your clients, Executive Wealth Management, and they're saying, "Listen, Bert, I had planned my retirement at this such time, but with inflation now coming in, and maybe the stock market's doing well. I know it went up based on the job numbers on Friday, and that was the reaction to it. But I always feel like once they come back to reality, what kind of jobs these are, the markets are kind of level out again in relation to that. But what do you tell your clients who are like, listen, I'm not making what I was. I was going to retire in about 5, maybe 10 years, but now I'm going to have to extend that to maybe 15 or 20. How do you counsel them through these different difficult scenarios?
Well, obviously, each situation is different.
Yeah.
But currently, right now, we are rebalancing to become more taking profits off the table. We've had a great run. And what we try to do with our clients is make sure that they're in a position that they keep their expectations appropriate for retirement income planning.
Here's another one. Watch out. A flag on the hit by Derwin James.
Yeah, that hurts. Oftentimes when we think of broken bones or some type of orthopedic injury, that's what we think of. We think of a bad hit in the NFL at a football game. Maybe it's baseball or something of that nature, or a kid climbing a fence and falling off and breaking his or her arm. But the reality is a lot of these orthopedic injuries, broken bones or problem with your hips and knees, they happen over a longer duration, a longer period of time. It's this constant wear and tear. And then sometimes it might be that final thing that causes it to snap or something of that nature. So the reality is a lot of Americans and a lot of people in Michigan, Southeast Michigan, are suffering with these things as well, wondering what they should do about it. I want to bring in orthopedic specialist, Dr. Matthew Cade. He is in Brighton, Michigan, and he's joining us now and joins us to discuss the most common types of injuries, the most common surgeries that he encounters, focusing on hip and knee and arthritis and trauma. And we're also going to explore some of the advancements in orthopedics that we are now, thankfully, we have in this day and age with technology and just common knowledge as we learn more about the various techniques and the outcomes of modern surgeries. Dr. Cade, it's very nice to have you. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Very much appreciate it. And the reality is, I've got a lot of friends who get into a certain age group and they're like, I mean, it could be in their 40s, could be in their 50s, but suddenly my hips hurt me, my knees hurt me. What are some of the common, types of injuries that you deal with, and what's the genesis oftentimes of those injuries?
Typically, arthritis takes years to build up, and it's as simple as a sprain, or they twist their knee, or they take a fall, and it really irritates that pre-existing arthritis that really gets inflamed and kind of starts a chain reaction. So, and it's really common. We probably do about 500,000 hip replacements in the U.S. each year, and we probably do about 800,000 knee replacements a year. And
That is remarkable.
the numbers keep going up. Yeah.
So, when you're younger and you think about, what are the things that might down the road lead me to maybe developing arthritis? What are the common things that we do that maybe we can prevent this outcome, this arthritic outcome that we don't want?
Yeah, actual trauma, so bad falls, broken bones, things like that can lead you to have arthritis. We call it post-traumatic arthritis. But I mean, most people, it's just wear and tear and genetics. If you did happen to smoke or use steroids a lot, things like that but that's less common. Usually it's just as people live longer, you wear out your joints.